How's it, gang? We're back. Continuing on with our ukulele building series. Today is going to be a fairly short video. We're just going to glue on the neck block and the tail block. And it's going to follow the same format. I'm going to talk story in the beginning, go through the demonstration. I'm not going to say anything. You guys can fast forward to that, and then we'll come back at the end and then close it up. If you guys have any questions or comments, by all means, pop them below. Try to get back to you guys as soon as possible. For now, we'll go to the bench. Let's talk story about the head block and tail block and the material also, and what we're going to do to prep it before we go ahead and glue it in. Okay, so let's get you down here. All right. Okay. Got the outside form here. Let's put this on the side. So the material we're going to use is basically Baltic birch plywood. Now, traditionally, I used to use mahogany. We use coal for building ukulele. Long story short, we'll just get into Baltic birch plywood. And this is not just regular Home Depot plywood. This is Baltic birch. What it is, the difference is that it's solid all the way through. The plies are actually solid birch. It costs more, actually costs a lot of money right now. And you can see this is 3/4 inch. This is actually, it's 1/2 inch, but it's nominally shorter than that. I used to use a big block like this on the tail block, but what I realized, you don't need that much. So these are the two blocks that we're going to use. If you look at the dimensions on this one's going to be 3 inches for the tail block. Width is going to be about 1.5 inches. It's actually 1.5. This is going to be 2.5 inches for the heel block. This is one that's going to go in the neck. 3/4 inch, and then wide it's going to be 1 3/4 inches wide, which is about where the width at the 12th fret is on the fretboard and the neck, and we'll get into the neck jigs later. Okay, now there's a theory behind using solid wood. When you get into solid wood, and let's just talk mahogany, arguments would be which way the grain is facing. And some would argue face the grain up and down, but when you do it up and down, the gluing surface on the top and the back is now going to be end grain. Okay, so the other argument would be you glue it with the grain running this way, laterally. So the gluing surface on the top and back is going to be side grain and not end grain. I used to do it laterally, but with Baltic birch plywood, really doesn't matter because it's plywood and it's layered in both directions. Super stable. I learned this a long time ago from a builder who passed away, unfortunately, recently. But thanks, Rick, for this suggestion. And we just stick with Baltic birch plywood. Now, there are a couple of things that we do to prep this Baltic birch before we put it in and use it. I went ahead and dripped on thin CA glue, both on the face and through the sides, and it just sucks it up. And when you're doing CA glue through the sides, you can actually see it coming out the other side. The reason I use CA is to stabilize the plies on the inside, because we're going to start drilling holes in this, especially on this one when you have a pickup in. This one's going to have a hole. It's actually we're going to do a mortise and tenon here, so this is going to end up getting a lot thinner than what this is. There's going to be a mortise inside here. So all of this is not going anywhere. It's not going to move because Baltic birch plywood is stable. But I like to stabilize inside here, and it just makes it much more stiff and solid. Once the holes start going in, we're going to have 2 bolts through here. We're going to do the relief inside for the cap screw and the Bellevue washer that goes inside, and we'll get to that later on. But for now, that's the prep on this. Before, and I still do it to this day, you can bevel this angle. I actually do a nice soft curve over on the inside just because I can. I don't like to leave it square on the insides. I think it's, even though nobody's going to touch it or see it, I think it's just nice and smooth. It makes me feel good when it goes on the inside. Okay, what I also did was I took a center finding ruler and I marked the center on here. So you can, from the inside, you can match up where the center line is on both sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this is the outside form, remember which way is the top. I'll face the top on the bottom. And, sorry, wax paper on here, okay? We're gonna wax paper this, specifically so we don't glue anything together. Okay. Just put a little tape there so it doesn't move. I'm gonna wax paper both sides because we don't want it getting glued onto our outside form. Now when I put this in, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna match up, I'm gonna line up. I'm gonna start with the back seam and make sure it is centered there. Maybe I'll do it this way. It's kind of backwards for me, but it's okay, we'll do it that way. Anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue the tail block in first. And I have my center line there. We're gonna glue the tail block in, and then we're gonna put the spanners in here. And I got this from Bohannon. If you guys don't understand this, just kind of think about it, you will. And I'll work my way around, and then we'll glue in the head block. Now, I gotta make sure that this is the solid match, the solid meat right here. For me, it really doesn't matter because I'm gonna put an end graft anyway, but if I wasn't gonna put an end graft, this is the one that you wanna make sure has a nice joint. Up front, doesn't matter because it's all gonna be covered up and it's gonna get cut off with the mortise and tenon anyway. Let me turn this around. And for those of you that want to fast forward, it is now 6 minutes and 45 seconds, and I'll just shut up and keep on going. And that's pretty much it, guys. I don't know if I cut off my head over here, but that's basically gluing in the head block and the tail block. Now you notice what I did. I made sure everything was centered down at the bottom and level with the bottom. Of course, it's going to stick out the top of the form a little bit, and then you saw me use a caul both on the head block and the heel block, kind of clamp it in to make sure everything's clamped in at the top. What I also did was you saw me take a square and make sure it is absolutely 90 degrees, both on the front and the back. More critical on the heel block and the tail block. More critical on the heel block, because that's where I want that 90 degrees, so that when we cut our mortise and tenon, everything is all square up on that end. Okay, if you got any questions, comments, leave them down below. We'll continue on with the series. I think what we're gonna do next is either do some bracing or we'll probably do some reverse kerf lining. Catch you next time.